Welcome to Nameless Debate Radio, where radioactivity is contagious. You can join us in broadening our minds on the Nameless Debates Discord via the link below and even feature here yourself, if you've got what it takes.
All right. So how do you want to do this, Dave? Do you want to start first, or do you want me to start, or what? What do you want to do?
You can go ahead and start first.
All right, just give me a second. Just close this. Cut out some noise.
So what now?
I said, give me a sec. I'm closing some windows to cut out some of the noise.
Yeah, I just had to turn my air conditioner off. Do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, so my point of view is basically that, the goals of the first two waves of feminism are really reasonable and commendable. And I think that the rights that were focused on in those waves of the movement are very important. But I think that in countries where, so mostly first world Western countries, where women have these rights, are, in most situations and in most contexts, equal to men and, have equal opportunities and all of that. I feel like feminism is not only unnecessary, but is actually counterproductive to gender equality, to gender equality as an outcome.
Okay. So you said that, and again, when we say developed countries or first world countries, we need to understand we are talking about could have higher levels of gender equality, gender outcomes, and higher levels of things like women's mortality rates, infant mortality rates for children born that are female, things like that, right? So countries that are considered to be more advanced, right?
Yeah, I don't know about,
Are you
but sure, yeah.
are you okay with that?
I mean, I'm not sure about some of the metrics you mentioned.
Okay,
I
like
don't know what.
which ones do you have contentions with?
I don't necessarily understand what the birth rate has to do with anything.
Well, countries that have higher levels of their GDP is higher, they have a higher life expectancy rate. They typically tend to have a not necessarily, I'm sorry, not birth rate. I should have said mortality rate, infant mortality birth rate.
I'm not necessarily understanding what that has to do with feminism either.
No, I'm just saying when I'm comparing, I'm saying that feminism is still necessary in these countries, in the most advanced countries in the world. So instead of saying that, I'll say America, Canada, um, Australia, New Zealand, like and most of Western Europe, right? The most advanced countries in the world, right? Are you okay
Yeah,
with that contention? South Korea, Japan, and I even add Russia in there, right? Some of the most advanced and not gonna say competitive, but developed countries in the world in
sure.
terms of technological achievement and in terms of the human rights index, things like that. Are you okay with that?
Sure, yeah.
Right. Why feminism is still needed. Third and fourth wave feminism is still needed. And I'm going to cite the Wikipedia source for fourth wave feminism in the Tavern text. Is because things like the empowerment of women and intersectionality are still needed today with modern day feminism, right? So
Oh well, I don't know. That's exactly what's under contention.
right. So Roe v. Wade in America is getting very close to getting overturned, right? So if
That's not a particularly relevant example.
that's a very good example in sync because that things like
Oh,
the
yeah.
abortion rights are intrinsic to women's
Yeah,
rights
but
and
that's a
women
goal.
empowerment.
Yeah, but that was a goal of second wave feminism, and I already said, in any country where the goals of first and second wave feminism haven't been satisfied, feminism is still necessary and appropriate.
Right.
So if your country
But
is about to go backwards, then okay, like then feminism might become more necessary in America for a bit until you go forward again. But in general, I think it's unnecessary.
Again, fourth wave feminism not in juxtaposition to second wave feminism. Fourth wave feminism expounded upon.
Yeah, fourth wave feminism is mostly, it's very similar to second wave feminism, except
to second wave feminism, to modern day to modern day fourth wave feminism. It's not. It may not be the primary. It may not have been the primary focus.
I said fourth wave feminism is quite similar to second wave feminism, except that the medium is the internet. It's basically the difference.
Right. So I can agree with that. I think that there are some similarities between second and fourth wave feminism. But what I'm going to say here is that because we've backslided abortion here in America, that is still a cause for, that we still need third and fourth wave feminism. Again, by definition, third wave feminism is about the fourth wave feminism is about the empowerment of women and about
that's what all feminism is about.
Right, but more so about gender stratification, gender roles, more so for fourth wave feminism. And again, I'm going to link this here. Oh, I'm sorry, I already did in Tavern Text Chat. So
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by the stratification of gender roles. Like, what are you talking about exactly?
How do I word this? So, do you think that something that fourth wave feminism would have an issue with would be women having, so traditional gender roles is what I mean. That third and fourth wave feminism have contention with traditional gender roles, right? They feel as if traditional.
I think all of feminism has contention with traditional gender roles.
Right. But these still, again, these are the problems that third and fourth wave feminism has still yet to actualize. We're still seeing these issues here. And
but like, for example, what? Like, can you give me an example of this like stratification problem in gender roles?
Let's see. Stuff here in Tavern Text Chat, if that's okay with you, right?
The Wikipedia.
Yeah, is that okay with you? Wikipedia okay with you?
Yeah, sure. But I mean, Wikipedia is not gonna. Wikipedia is like a general about page. I'm looking for an example though.
Right. That you can still see the sources that I'm using if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So social stratification, it's just about society's categorization of people into groups based upon, things like wealth, economic status, education, things like that. And again, so we still here in modern day developed countries, people who are categorized as women still face. They're still more likely to be sexually assaulted. They're still statistically more likely.
Of course they are.
Right. They have different health issues. They have different health outcomes. We have an entire
dude. I cannot imagine any kind of intervention you could ever implement that would make the sexual assault rates turn around so that women and men were equal. That just doesn't make any sense.
The goal is not to make the long-term goal is to mitigate sexual assaults altogether. Again, the ultimate goal is the alleviation of crime.
That's not a realistic goal.
Okay, that's not a realistic goal. Explain to me what you mean by that.
I mean that sexual assault is part of our animal nature. I cannot imagine an ideological system or any kind of governmental institution or policy or law that could prevent sexual assault from happening. That just is not realistic.
Again, my contention is, I'm not saying that we should prevent it from happening altogether. My contention is that we mitigate sexual assault. No. I said mitigate. I didn't say prevent from happening altogether. I said we mitigate the issue.
Mitigate meaning what? Like reduce?
Yes, reduce or minimize as much as we
possibly
possibly
can. But I'm not
can.
understanding what that has to do with feminism. Like the minimization of sexual assault.
Hold on, Darius, do you mean initially you referenced the disparity between men and women in terms of being sexually assaulted? Is that what you're talking about, the disparity?
Yes.
Yeah, but
yes,
I don't
that's what I'm saying.
understand what kind of social policy could you possibly implement to make it so less women were being sexually assaulted? I just don't understand what you're talking about.
Right. So my issue,
Like,
my
because
contention,
the way I see it, the disparity in that case arises out of a physical difference. The fact that men are physically stronger. That's basically what causes it.
well, it's not even necessarily about men being physically stronger, right?
But that makes it
So
a lot easier to sexually assault someone if you're stronger than them. Significantly easier to assault them.
Wait, what? You're saying that, like, because of strength, this is why, like, SA rates are so much higher? Like, this is, like, totally due to socialization. What?
No. The fact that you can rape someone else increases the probability that you will. If you couldn't, then the probability would go down.
No, like, this, like, the whole idea that, like, men should have, like, this irresistible type of, or
Not what I said. I
uncontrollable
didn't say
sex,
anything.
drive or
I
whatever
didn't say anything
is
about that. I
socialization.
just talked.
Like, this has
no,
nothing to
no,
do
no.
with whether they're strong or not.
I didn't talk about any kind of irresistible drive. All I said was that this is like the desire for sexual gratification is part of our animal nature. Like, if
That's
anything
literally
is
what I
social,
just said.
I mean, no, but if anything is socialized, it's not raping. Rape is very common in the animal kingdom.
What?
Rape is
Are you
extremely
seriously
common.
trying to justify, like, humans raping other humans because it happens out in nature?
No. Stop. So I have to stop you right
Going
here.
to be uncharitable, don't interject into the conversation.
No. What instinct? So my contention here, and I don't really know how to pronounce your name, is can I call you Earth?
Yeah, it's abs.
Abs. Okay, Abs. My contention here is that you know, that women are statistically more likely to be sexually assaulted than men are, and this is still why we need third and fourth wave. So because of that, I'm arguing that a goal of third and fourth wave feminism would be to mitigate sexual assaults altogether. Again,
How,
maybe
though? Like, by what means? Could you, like, specify some policy that you
It's a
think would be
difference
helpful?
of socialization. It's not like
so.
a literal
No.
policy or like legislation.
I have no. I do have some. So here in my hometown, and I'm not going to dox where I'm from. And there's a town in Alabama where the owner of a collegiate bar was sentenced to 6 months in jail for for putting date rape drugs inside of alcoholic beverages on a collegiate campus. This is something that is still happening.
So
Women at what
that's
the hell do you?
illegal.
Huh?
That is illegal. You understand that, right? That's already illegal.
But people were complicit within. So again, things like not seeing I get it. I get that
I'm
it's
just not
illegal.
understanding.
No.
It's
Instinct. I get that it's a.
That's what making it illegal is.
So it's not necessarily about the legalities, but it's more so about implementing educational intervention programs that would help men see, hey, look, this is why you need to have empathy for
From what I
putting it.
understand, those programs have notoriously low success rates. They actually aren't shown to have an effect on sexual assault rate.
Right.
Right, which
So
is why we
again,
have to change socialization as a whole and get rid of the whole idea that, like, men are so strong, they're so powerful, like all of this toxic masculinity
I don't know
bullshit.
what that means. Like, what do you mean? You could do away with the quote unquote idea if you like. The fact will still remain that men are physically stronger than women. That is a fact.
Not all men.
That doesn't matter. Statistically, the average man is
it's
significantly
like
stronger than
60%.
the average woman.
Yeah, right.
It's
I'm
like
not saying that, like,
60% more. The average man has 60% more upper body strength than the average woman does.
yeah, right. I'm not
Which
saying that,
is a
like,
lot. That is a
them being
lot.
stronger. Could you, like, let me speak? Thank you. I'm not saying that, like, this strength doesn't contribute to, like, them or, like, being easier for them to be able to take advantage of women. However, I'm saying the main way to fix this is socialization, not the fact that, like, oh, we should implement, like, legality type things. It's entirely a socialization
I
issue.
don't even know what you mean by socialization. That's a very vague, statement. Like, what? Can you explain to me what kind of policy you would want implemented to facilitate the kind of socialization you're looking for?
Again, it's not like a literal legal policy. It's like, again,
It
a
has to be.
socialization type of thing, whole. Like
How
just
do
how
you
we
affect-
socialize young boys.
Okay.
How do you affect change in how we socialize except through law?
Guys, NSYNC and Darius plan to debate for this time, and I think lots of us were interested in hearing that. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for someone to intervene if they feel like there's like a confusion going on where the two guys are talking past each other. But I don't think we should be introducing like a whole new lines of thinking into the debate if we want to focus on the actual NSYNC Darius debate.
Oh no, I'm just saying because like the whole argument that like we should do legal policies is kind of like
Well,
a
that
terrible
is no,
argument, and I
but
think it
that's,
should be
I'm not
kind of.
talking about whether or not the argument is good, right? I'm
Okay,
saying
that's not what
that.
I'm saying either. I'm just saying that like
Okay,
it'd make more
well,
sense for the conversation to be a little bit more centered around like
well,
socialization.
we're not
and
really
stuff.
talking about whether the conversation makes sense or not. We're just talking about how can we facilitate the conversation between NSYNC and Darius. That's it.
So abs, whenever you feel like it's necessary, or whenever you feel like it's it could be helpful to the debate, please feel free to chime in. But this is something that we scheduled about a week or so ago.
Well, yeah, just a suggestion. You should probably include socialization in your argument.
So
Okay,
another thing that I was going to talk about. So another thing that I was going to talk about here was about fourth wave feminism is more so about intersectionality. So second wave feminism mitigated the plight. I'm sorry. Second wave feminism did not include the plight of women of color within their ranks. So, and within their ideological doctrines. So, third and fourth wave feminism are more so about intersectionality. And a part of intersectionality, so a part of that would be something like, Black women are. So, when polled, 50% of medical students thought that Blacks and whites felt pain at different levels, right? And so things like Black people having lower health outcomes, namely Black women going to hospitals here in America, are things that are disproportionately disadvantageous towards Black women. This is why we still need fourth wave feminism, because about intersectionality.
Like, I don't understand what you're proposing. So people had an opinion about women which was scientifically wrong, that Black women feel. First of all, I would love to see, like, please cite that study. That sounds ludicrous. I highly doubt that. But even if
what now?
that 50% of medical students thought Black women felt pain differently, that is ludicrous.
I'll link it. Just go ahead.
Please do, yeah. But even if that were true, like, I'm just not really understanding. So the idea is that the sort of intersection of race and gender here is somehow relevant. All I'm hearing basically is racism, that like Black people are subhuman or something like that. That's basically the implication. I can't understand what it has to do with feminism.
Right. So so the failures of second wave feminism to include intersectionality within their ideological doctrines is why.
Intersectionality is about
Black
the
people are
intersection. Yeah, shut up. Intersectionality is about the intersectionality is about the intersection of different, like, various identities and stuff that contribute jointly towards, like, oppression or discrimination, right? But in this example, all I'm seeing is racism. I'm not seeing any sexism.
Right. No. So again, that's a part of intersectional feminism. Is about including, about being more inclusive to trans women and to women of color. And again, I linked this study where half. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. NSYNC, you can't keep interrupting. You can't keep interrupting me, NSYNC. Come on, man. Like, we can't have a productive dialogue if you're not.
I know, but just getting off topic. Like, yes, obviously, it's about including in the feminist analysis women of color and stuff like that. But
women of color and trans women.
Fine, but it's not a feminist analysis just because it concerns women. Do you understand that?
But in what way is it not? And so for anybody who thinks this study is ludicrous, I linked it how we feel Black patients about how 50% of white medical students thought Blacks and whites felt pain at different levels. Yes, that's still a problem, and that is still a problem that disproportionately affects Black women. Huh?
No, disproportionately affects Black people.
Black people, yes, but again.
Well, so Darius, so I think the idea is something like, well, say we had the say we said, well, Black women have the problem of, experiencing disease in their life. We'd say, well, yes, that's true, but that's not like a Black woman problem. That's a human problem. Everyone experiences disease, and that doesn't make it a Black woman problem.
Right.
Yes.
Again, but I understand. Again, this may not be a Black woman problem per se, but again, let's look at
That makes it not a relevant example of an intersectional analysis, actually.
That's a very that's a very relevant example of it.
No,
Christ.
again, for it to be an intersectional analysis, the analysis has to include two intersecting dimensions of oppression, race and gender. If it's just race, then it's not intersectional.
Right. Right. But so again, feminism is more so about equality and not just about women's equality, but about the equality of all human beings on the base.
Well,
Mitigate.
Actually, there is a movement focused on equality. It's called Egalitarianism.
Right.
Feminism is about women's rights. Let's not quibble. That's what it's about.
It's about equality on the mitigating equality on the basis.
Equality for women. That's what it's about.
It's mitigating the inequality of human beings on the basis of gender.
No, that's part of egalitarianism. Feminism specifically focuses on ways in which women are disadvantaged.
Okay. And so I'm gonna. You have this thing and think. Okay, go ahead. Just go ahead.
Yeah, because like you were talking about intersectionality, I actually have a relatively positive opinion on intersectionality. I just don't really like how it's used most of the time. I think it's like a relatively reasonable framework for analysis with good points about the overwhelming focus on like white women's problems or however you might want to say it. But I think that intersectionality tends to encourage a kind of oppression Olympics that I don't think is particularly healthy. Like what you're essentially doing when you're doing an intersectional analysis is you're counting the number of ways in which you're oppressed.
Okay, in sync. And so another thing that I was also going to tell you is that something that could be intersection on the basis of gender and race is the fact that Black women are disproportionately more likely to be sexually assaulted than white women are. Right.
Okay.
So if I'm not mistaken, I think like anywhere from I may be like 35%, and I'll find the studies and link them. 35% of Black women before the age of 18 were sexually molested. Right. And to white women, it's somewhere around 15 to 20%. That's a marginal difference.
Okay. Yeah.
Could you?
I agree.
So can you? So wait, can you concede that this is an intersection on the basis of both gender and race?
Yeah, that's not the same example you were giving before, but sure, this would be an example of an intersectional analysis. Yes.
Right. So this would be a prime example of the intersectionalities that are part of the ideological doctrines of fourth wave feminism. Could you concede that?
I don't have a problem with the idea of intersectionality itself. Intersectionality is not like restricted to fourth wave feminism. It's also part of third wave feminism. And like not just that.
Again, but the constituent third and fourth wave feminism, and saying not just fourth wave feminism.
Obviously, yes. But
right.
I think more importantly, though, feminism is much broader than just intersectional analysis, right? So, like, just identifying a valid example of an intersectional analysis does very little to fortify the case for feminism.
But we're not necessarily fortifying the case of feminism and saying we're fortifying the necessities for third and fourth wave feminism. It's not just about feminism.
What I said, that's not different to
fortifying the concern
that's not different to fortifying the case for feminism.
We're outlining the necessities for third and fourth wave feminism in sync.
Yes, that's not different to fortifying the case. And I'm just saying that pointing out an example of a valid intersectional analysis doesn't get you very far in terms of justifying feminism.
Right. So again, I would ask you, Jesus Christ, because you keep interrupting me, I keep losing all my points. But
did you want to respond to the thing I said about the Oppression Olympics?
No. It's not necessarily about the Oppression Olympics. It's about understanding the human beings on the basis of intersection. Right. So
yeah, I already understand that, but my critique was that although I think intersectionality is a relatively coherent analytical framework with some good points to make, I think that the proponents of intersectionality often use it basically as an excuse to engage in Oppression Olympics. And it's easy to understand why, because intersectionality, like almost definitionally, concerns let's say, counting the layers of oppression, right?
So you're saying there's a slippery slope there.
Well, not necessarily that there's a slippery slope, just that feminism is much broader than intersectional theory. And when you're like citing an intersectional analysis and pointing out, well, this is valid and this is something, you know, that deserves more attention, well, feminism is much broader than that. And I
Well,
personally,
NSYNC, what if Darius is saying that intersectionality is a defining feature of third and fourth wave feminism? So, in recognizing the worth of intersectionality, you have to recognize the worth of third and fourth wave feminism.
no, I don't.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is obviously an integral part of third and fourth wave feminism, but I think intersectionality is a valid framework all on its own. We could incorporate intersectional analysis into an egalitarian framework, and I think it would be more effective.
Right. Again, but that's not the contention here. And saying here is the necessity of third and fourth wave feminism as an ideological doctrine, as an ideological
But
doctrine.
that's the thing. Yes, exactly. Which are, as I've already said, branded such that they're focused explicitly on women's rights.
Okay. So why do you think third and fourth wave feminism is branded to focus more so on women's rights?
Well, that's how it started. Like, it's a continuation of a previous movement. In the past, women were were the main focus of the inequality discussion because there was a lot of inequality surrounding women. These days, that isn't really the case.
Okay, so I can
Women
see.
are still
Wait,
unequal. What do you mean?
hold on. This is a debate, dude. Please don't chime in like this because he and I are having this discussion, and as you can see, everyone else has their mic muted. So it is very rude to come in here raising your voice at two people who are having a discussion in a formalized setting. Please don't do that.
My fault. Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. So again, so in sync, I concede the second wave feminism, first and second wave feminism were more so about understanding the plights of women, namely average middle
That's
class
what all
white.
feminism is.
No,
Sorry, that's what all feminism is.
in sync,
That's
listen
why
to me,
it's
dude.
branded.
Listen
You
to
asked
me,
me
dude.
why was it branded that way. I was giving you an answer. The
I
answer
understand.
is all feminism is focused on specifically women.
So again, so a part of third and fourth wave feminism are understanding the plights of males within and how they are systematically oppressed within the patriarchy.
I just think that's counterproductive. I think that it's much more like fruitfully pursued under a framework like egalitarianism.
Okay, so why do you think it would be more fruitfully pursued under something like egalitarianism?
Because there's a branding problem. Because if you want to consider the rights of men, you probably don't want to be calling it feminism. It's not that hard to understand.
I think you're focusing more so on the name and less about the ideological doctrines in itself.
That's because the name is branding. The branding is relevant.
The brand, okay, I can see that the branding is relevant, but again, we need to focus more so about ideological doctrines and say not necessarily names, right? So again, I brought up the point that third and fourth wave feminism discuss about how young men and just men in general are oppressed within a patriarchal system. How we are taught to be how we are taught to repress.
Yeah, I think that and analyzing it under a feminist framework is actually counterproductive to the goal of promoting equality for men, let's say.
Okay, so how is it counterproductive?
Well, because it specifically identifies women. Surely, if we in fact are looking for equality both ways, egalitarianism is the better name.
So, and again, I'm more so here to talk. I'm speaking more so about ideological doctrines, and you keep going back to the name, and within the ideology. But okay, so for example,
it's like you think the name is just a name. The name is not just a name. The name.
I'm trying to give an example and saying, but you keep interrupting me, dude. You got to stop doing this. Let me finish.
Because you keep making the same criticism, which is essentially implying that it's just a name.
Okay, so Black Lives Matter, for example, is not necessarily about how Black people are systematically oppressed within a white supremacist power structure. It's also about how white people can be disproportionately disadvantaged.
No, I don't agree with that. I think that's a silly way to look at it.
But Black Lives Matter also have also marched.
Fine, they can have broader interests. The individual activists are welcome to be interested in other issues. But what the movement Black Lives Matter concerns, my friend, is Black lives. It's not just a name. It designates the subject matter.
Right. But so it's again, in sync, pay attention. It's the naming is important. I agree with you. But people, so feminism is called feminism because women are disproportionately more likely to be disadvantaged within a patriarchal system. Black Lives Matter is referred to as
No.
black. Wait. Black Lives Matter is referred to as Black Lives Matter because black people are disproportionately more likely to be disadvantaged within a system in which we continue to be a marginalized group all across not just America or Canada, but hell, even in Australia, New Zealand, or other countries that black people exist in which we are not the dominant people, or which we are an ethnic minority. So again, we refer to this
Okay.
group as Black Lives Matter, not necessarily because it's about just only about black people. Black people are the most likely to be disproportionately
I don't
disadvantaged
care
in
about
these
that.
societies. That's why it's called Black Lives Matter. Understand what I'm saying? The
Fine.
branding matters.
You want to focus, dude, if you want to focus on how white people are disadvantaged under a similar framework, you would call it something else, designating the subject matter appropriately.
But even then, those white
Like
organizations.
I feel like you're being very naive and just essentially denying the historical trace, which is in the beginning, feminism was concerned exclusively with women.
I can see that point.
And in the beginning, Black Lives Matter was concerned exclusively with black lives. That's the fact.
I concede the first point, but not the second. It was not
What?
concerned exclusively with black. It was not concerned
In
exclusively.
the beginning, yes, it was. In the beginning, it rises out of an issue of specific inequality concerning a specific group of people. That activism may later be broadened, but in the beginning, it acquires the name through a historical trace that establishes the subject matter. And I feel like you're just pretending that that's not there.
Okay, I concede that in the beginning that can be the point, but now we're talking about broader ideological doctrines. How people, we're not just talking about just the original concept of feminism. We're talking about.
Yes, but we're talking about iterations of the concept of feminism. And my point is that at a certain point, the movement of feminism outlives its usefulness and it becomes more productive to focus on egalitarianism.
Right. So.
And I think that's happened. That's my whole point.
So why do you think it's happened, and how do you think it's happened?
Because women in my country are equal to men.
On paper, yes.
What do you mean on paper? Like, yeah, there are going to be de facto inequalities of all sorts of different types. You cannot rectify all of them. Some of them are a matter of nature. For instance, like, would you say, should there be more women working in the mines, in your opinion?
In my opinion,
yeah.
I mean, it's less about them being women. It's more so about them being productive.
No, sorry. There's 90 to 95% of coal miners are men, okay? Females are disproportionately underrepresented, okay? The question is that a focus for equality? Do we want more women in the coal mines? Or are we going to say, okay, we accept that maybe women don't want to be in the fucking mines? Come on, dude.
Okay. Hold on for a second. Women aren't hold on for a second and say, I'm okay. Because I could see that point, but it's just how you said it made me laugh my ass off. But again, women don't want to work in those jobs, though. So women may be underrepresented.
That's exactly my point. So in that case, there are some inequalities that are just the result of natural differences, right?
It's not about mitigating all inequalities. It's about mitigating inequalities that exist on the basis of discrimination of women.
Yes, I agree.
Or people of marginalized.
Yes. So why don't you name such inequality that exists in my country? I can't think of one.
Again, I'm speaking of developed countries as a whole,
obviously we got to deal with concrete examples, right? I'm saying take Australia as an example, right? I'm sure there are some issues. It's just a matter of like you to think of them, right? I personally can't think of any ways in which women aren't equal, don't have equal opportunities to men. I can't think of a way.
You don't think men have equal opportunity to marry? Why not?
No, I said sorry, I can't think of a way where women don't have equal opportunities to men.
Equal opportunities to men. Again, so we can look at things like so here in America, right? So I think if I'm not mistaken,
You're not going to bring up the abortion thing, are you?
Jesus Christ, no.
Go
See,
ahead.
brother. I have a great deal of respect for you and your intellectual capacity. The only thing I'm asking for you here is to let me finish my points. That's all I'm
Oh,
asking
yeah,
for you to do.
my bad.
Right. So that's all I want you to do is just let me finish my points. I get that this can get heated. I get that this is a much needed discussion, especially here for those of us who live in America who are not only as of 2019 democratically backsliding, but in terms of gender and race outcomes, we're still backsliding in some key areas. So this is a much needed discussion about intersectionalities, about gender and race equalities, and how these special interest groups coincide and work together in harmony and congruency. So again, I get that. I get that this can get heated, and I get that we may have some ideological contentions, but again, we have got to let each other finish.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you did talk for a while, but sure.
I got to outline. You keep interrupting and think I had to outline that. So
yeah, fine.
Right. So again, so here in America, right? I'm sure, and even in Australia, I'm pretty sure we can all easily explain away, or think we can, anyways, the wage gap. Right? Oh well, it's not necessarily about the people are paying women less. It's about the women going to different career paths than men. But
that
why?
Is what it's about.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And third and fourth wave feminism wants to know why we go into these different. Why are women more like?
Well, this is the thing is, the answer is natural differences in temperament. This is sort of where you get into sticky territory, because third wave feminism includes things like postmodern feminism, which denies that there are any such natural divergences between men and women, asserting instead that it's all socially constructed, which is actually ludicrous.
Okay, so I can see that it's not all socially constructed, but I will make the contention, or put forth the argument that a great deal of gender inequality is societally constructed.
Yeah, I think much less of it than people generally think.
Okay, where do you draw the line between biologically innate gender inequalities and socially constructed gender inequalities?
Well, usually when they have to be imposed on the person. Like a biologically innate inequality is going to assert itself if equal opportunity is created. That's exactly what has happened in the Scandinavian countries.
Right. So the Scandinavian countries test very well in gender inequality. Why? Because they have a very robust gender equality. I said inequality, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. So they test very well. Why? Because they have strong social safety nets. They have universal health care, universal daycare.
But the consequence of that is that those natural differences are actually maximized, not minimized.
Okay, explain what you mean.
Yeah. So the more equal the opportunities are, the more possible it is for the natural temperamental differences to assert themselves in choices, right? So the more capable women are of choosing any field at all to work in, the more they're going to gravitate towards the ones they actually want to work in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if in fact in such countries we can observe that the gender differences go up, not down, when equal opportunity is introduced, right? What that would show is that, because, like, you asked, how would I tell the difference? Well, in general, it doesn't. If it's a natural equality, you don't have to. There's no need for an imposition. You don't have to use any kind of policy.
No. I agree. So can you and I both agree that if you work hard at all other things being equal, you want to have the exact same parents, same upbringing, went to the same school, all of that, on a pure meritocratic basis, if you work harder than me, can you and I both agree that you deserve a higher quality of life than I do, or that you've put more into society than I have?
The specific claim generally that we're talking about with the pay gap is that equal work deserves equal pay, and that is what it gets. It's illegal to pay people differently for the same work. It's illegal.
Right, absolutely.
Not, like, the kind of statistical analyses that produce the pay gap produce it precisely because they don't take into account important factors that contribute
Absolutely.
to it.
Absolutely, like childbirth, like taking 5 years off for childbearing.
Yes, okay.
Right?
So if you factor in those things, the pay gap pretty much disappears.
Right, but it's still not necessarily. It's still 91 cents to 100 cents, even if you factor all those things
No,
in.
that all that means is that there are factors we haven't yet accounted for, and that doesn't prove that there is some discrimination on the basis of gender.
No. I'm not saying that there's discrimination on the basis of gender. I'm saying that
That's what we're talking about, though. That's what the gender pay gap is.
So we're not talking. So the gender pay. So a lot of people misconstrue this. It's
The
not about.
gender pay
It's
gap
not about.
is the supposition that women literally earn less for the same amount of work than men do. That is false.
Right. So again, so my contention here is that it's not about them being discriminated against because they're women. It's about inequality on the basis of gender. So I'm going to give you an example of this. We are more likely to push young men into mathematics and engineering, and we're more likely to societally rear young girls to things like nursing or things like
I already covered this. In societies where you maximize gender equality, the equal opportunity, where you're not pushing young women to go into a certain field and young men to go into a certain field, what you find is that statistical tendency reasserts itself even stronger.
Mm-hmm. Again, so can you give me some examples of this?
Yes, the Scandinavian countries. So for example, we can talk about like women, right? Why would it be that women are more likely to go into nursing? Now, you raise the hypothesis that it's because we socialize women to be that way. I would counter that with the hypothesis that women are more agreeable and more people focused, which makes it a better fit for them. And that's a part of their biological constitution. That's not part of socialization.
There's actually a study that I was looking at, and I'll link it later on in chat, that explains this. That women are more agreeable, but some of this is biologically innate, yes, but a lot of this is reared by society, where women are taught to engage in more pro-social behaviors than men are, even at a very young age. Yes, but see, that's my
point. I'm not saying
and
socialization doesn't play a role, dude. I'm just saying that it's not explainable on account of socialization, because when we remove the like you're saying, we currently, the Scandinavian countries don't do that, and what we find is that these differences maximize.
So the Scandinavian countries don't rear girls into engaging in more pro-social behaviors than boys. That's what you're saying, right?
I'm saying that no, I mean, I'm sure I would think of that particular inclination as biologically inherited. There are good reasons for training women to be more pro-social than men, because men can get away with it, and also men solve disputes far differently to women. So I think part of that is inherent. But no, what I was getting at was, in Scandinavia, they're not pushing women to be nurses or whatever in the same way you might imagine they are in your country.
I could concede this, but what I'm telling you is,
what we find is that even though they're not doing that, the gender difference in choice of career remains.
Again, what I'm asking you is specifically, are people making these gender different? Can you prove to me that relative to the Scandinavian countries, relative to America, Scandinavian countries don't rear young girls into engaging in more pro-social behavior than they do young boys? That's what I'm asking you.
I already said I think that's part of the inherent biological constitution.
But that's not biological constitution. And that is something that will be, but that is something that is socially innate. Something so specifically rearing young girls.
This is confusing. We have been living as a social species for longer than you can possibly fucking imagine. Your body has evolved to be social. Okay, you have certain characteristics as a consequence of your ancestors' socialization. What that means is that if, in fact, men and women socialize with each other differently, solve conflict differently, etc., then we're going to expect to see such differences in how we rear the young. because obviously we're going to rear our young to fit in to society. So whatever the social norms are, right, whatever works for a girl or works for a boy is what's going to be taught.
So my next point of contention, the reason why we need third and fourth wave feminism here in the United States is, well, sorry, here in more developed countries is, so in Western civilizations, we're still rearing young boys to repress emotions, right? And so one of the reasons why we see a discrepancy in male and female suicide rates, again, some of this is biologically innate, but teaching young men to repress emotions.
Yeah, I don't think that this is a pertinent issue for feminism to focus on. I think egalitarianism is probably the best approach. Like, why? It just doesn't make sense. Feminism explicitly isn't concerned with men's rights. So if we're moving to a broader equality-based model, we're moving away from feminism.
Mm-hmm. But I can't necessarily say that is because feminism is focusing itself more so now with intersectionality, right? So I get it. So feminism is not so third and fourth. Let me finish. So again, you would be correct in first and second wave feminism, but third and fourth wave feminism focus more so. They broaden things out, right? They still brand themselves.
Intersectionality is a framework available to other positions. An egalitarian can use an intersectional analysis.
So
it's
can
not,
you give me?
It's not the sole property of feminism.
So can you give? So can you list some, or at least find some, egalitarian groups that have institutionalized power, that have lobbying power, that are fighting for some of these issues?
Yeah, I bet I could. Yes, I mean I'm on my phone at the moment. I'd probably have to go into my computer to look, but yeah, I'm very confident that I could.
Okay, sure. I mean, while you're doing that, so again, I was just going to finish my point. First and second wave feminism.
Well, I'll probably do it after the debate because it's raining and I'm not going to go back outside into the rain and make it so no one can hear me.
Your weather sucks. It doesn't snow there. It doesn't snow here in Alabama either, though. But
well, it snows in some places here, just not where I live.
Have you ever seen snow?
No, unfortunately.
Ha, bitch. But again, you would be right in first and second wave feminism focus more solely on the problems of women. Third and fourth wave feminism took where second wave feminism failed and evolved from that. Right.
See, that's the thing is, my point of view would be that third and fourth wave feminism focus exclusively on the problems of women, but consider additional factors such as race and income and stuff like that.
And it is not just exclusively about women. It's also about men too, and that's what I keep trying to get at. That feminist groups.
Dude, individual feminists may also have concerns about men's rights. Feminism is not about men's rights.
Okay, so if I can link an article from Stanford or from Wikipedia, could you concede that feminism in its modern day form is concerned about men's rights?
Oh my God. What that means is that modern day feminists are concerned with men's rights. And I'm not denying that. All I'm saying is that a more fruitful framework through which to engage with such issues is egalitarianism, not feminism. As I said, if we're moving toward a broader focus on equality in general, we should be moving away from any language which raises up one specific fucking group. It's not that complicated, really.
Again. Okay. So we've been talking in circles about this for a while. I would love to move on to the next point.
No doubt.
Okay, so Stabby wants to ask some questions. So if anybody wants to, we're doing much better in this discussion. We're a lot more civil. I would like to thank you. I would like to thank Bridge and some other people for chiming in and providing some great feedback. And we've mitigated the interruptions. You've done a much better job with that. You done a much better job controlling your temperament. I've been more prepared. So I would like to thank you and I and our viewers, for engaging in this healthy discussion that is needed here in the United States. But Stabby had some questions, and I wanted to get to her questions.
Yeah, just quickly before the questions, what I might do is I might just go through some of my other points, just to get it all out there. Nothing that's come up organically.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, I mean, so like I was saying at the beginning, I think that the goals of the first two waves of feminism were very reasonable and coherent. And in any country where those goals haven't been met, I think it's still important. But I think that third wave feminism specifically is like really kind of all over the shop and confused. It doesn't have clearly specified goals, which makes it actually very difficult for it to be effective as a social movement. And fourth wave feminism focuses primarily on internet advocacy, which, I mean, I'm going to be honest, hasn't really turned out well for the feminist movement. I mean, I think that most of the people here are familiar with feminism through such activism, and I don't know about you, but it definitely didn't leave a positive taste in my mouth.
It ain't about that. It ain't about leaving a positive taste in your mouth. It's shit.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to appeal to guilt by association, saying, well, feminism is bad because individual feminist activists
absolutely, I get what you're saying.
are unhinged. But it is worth wondering why so many self-proclaimed feminists are in fact unhinged.
Huh, interesting. So Stabby had some questions. She's really been itching to get in here.
I had one or two minutes. So one of the other ones was male feminists tend to be virtue signaling pussies, which is true. And I think that's not a desirable set of traits in a male, in my opinion.
Okay, so wait, no, fuck that. How is a male feminist a virtue signaling pussy?
No, that's just my experience. So the last point, modern feminism is inexplicably, something like that. Modern feminism is inexplicably tied up with identity politics, which is, in other words, the oppression Olympics, which is both intellectually and morally suspect, and often such activism creates more resistance to the desired goals than it furthers them.
Okay, so Stabby, did you have any questions? I guess she doesn't. I mean, you can talk. You don't have to type it out. You can there you go.
I was just going to ask, one of the reasons feminism is around, somewhat like communism in Marx's era, has a goal of not being necessary itself because it would have achieved parity. So the goal of movements such as feminism are going to be seeking to weed themselves out, which would mean that a third and a fourth wave feminism should show us that we are progressing towards an era in which feminism will not be needed. But with current events and with the way that things are right now, would you say that feminism is still needed because we have not yet achieved that parity?
Well, that's the thing. Like one of the conditions that I stipulated was that in any country where the goals explicitly outlined in first and second wave feminism haven't yet been reached, feminism is reasonable and appropriate, right? But in countries where those goals have been reached, right? So now we're only talking about third and fourth wave feminism because the first two waves have achieved their goal. I think that the third and the fourth wave of feminism actually really do very little to promote the equality of women and sort of get into a self-defined rabbit hole that just goes nowhere. I don't think that they're productive contributions to society, and I don't think that they're necessary.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, anybody else have any more questions? Or not? I guess not. So nobody else wants to chime in?
I got a fuck ton. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
who has a fuck ton?
Classless.
Classless, of course you do. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sounding a little tipsy.
Oh, we ain't getting started on tipsy. We ain't halfway there, bud.
No doubt. Sounds like you're like 3 times the way there.
No, you're gonna say what you seriously just said based around the decision made in the United States and let's say the prospective potential decision made in the United States in the last little bit.
Yeah, well, like I said, the condition was that in any country where the goals of first and second wave feminism haven't been met is eminently appropriate. So if in fact the United States rolls back abortion laws, then feminism becomes appropriate again. But I don't think that's a particularly good case to consider because it's sort of an outlier. Yeah, obviously, I'm
So
talking
are
about
we
countries
just
where those
waiting to
rights
are we
are.
just waiting to make sure that decision is written in stone or in law before we decide it's worthy to bring up the conversation again?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
All right, well then I can't get you there because those are just leaked documents, but we can have this conversation again when they officially release the statement.
But that's the thing is, as soon as they release, if in fact America rolls back abortion rights, then I would just take the position that feminism has become relevant in America again.
Well, okay, so let's engage with the idea that those leaks are probably accurate.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right.
So then
But
feminism is probably,
like they probably are accurate. Let's just be honest with ourselves.
yeah, fine. In that case, feminism is accurate, is appropriate for America, but that doesn't really speak to the broader world. Like, it's not like your country doing that has any impact on mine. It doesn't.
I'm Canadian, and we're worried about it.
Well, that you're right next to them, and you also take a lot of cues. The Canadians also take a lot of cues from the American government.
You okay, but NSYNC, you have to be aware of something kind of alarming. We in America have just fallen behind fucking Ireland, like literally.
Hey, don't blame the Catholics.
Yeah, no, it's all the Catholics' fault.
Yeah,
Definitely
but like I said, if abortion rights are rolled back in America, then I think feminism has become relevant again. So I don't necessarily see the counter argument to what I'm saying.
Well, to be fair, I chimed in halfway through the conversation. This was supposed to be 22 hours from now. What the fuck? Did I misread time? This ain't 22 hours from now.
Yeah,
But
you misread, I'm pretty sure.
okay, well, I mistimed. But if we're going to engage with the idea that that law is going to be rolled back appropriately, or going to be rolled back according to what we're predicting, it's all of a sudden relevant again.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
And that,
Of course.
but that has no impact on what we're saying, no, other than just it's
Oh,
relevant.
that has no, because what I'm talking about is like the broader world.
I might need some catching up by all means. I did chime in here late. I thought this debate was happening tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
By
my point of view is that in any country where the goals of first and second wave feminism have already been met, feminism is unnecessary. If a country has met those goals and then rolls back progress, feminism becomes necessary again. But that doesn't say anything about whether or not third and fourth wave feminism is necessary, because the abortion issue is part of second wave feminism.
That's fair. I don't really believe.
Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second, though. The abortion debate would still be a part of third and fourth wave feminism. Third and fourth wave feminism evolved as a product of second wave feminism. The contingents of second wave feminism. Oh, wait. The contingents of second wave feminism are still relevant to the contingents of third and fourth wave feminism. So the abortion debate would still be.
First of all, there are no clear contentions of third wave feminism. Third wave feminism is not a consolidated doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
There is no unifying thread for third wave feminism. It is all over the shop.
Well, the consolidating idea would be, as you stated earlier, intersectionality, which you're right, might not necessarily be relevant to this conversation, but it doesn't mean that the abortion debate falls out of the framework of what they would defend for.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Proponents of that framework would obviously then deal with the abortion issue. I don't necessarily think that what that means is that legitimizes that framework just because a social issue that is relevant comes up in it. Right? That's sort of what I was saying before, like when Darius was talking about black people supposedly feeling less pain or whatever. Like the fact that that issue comes up, and you could say with black women or whatever, that doesn't make it an intersectional issue. That's a racism issue.
Well, no, intersectionality and racism are not mutually exclusive. In fact,
Thank you. That's all I was saying.
Well, of course they're not mutually exclusive. Intersectionality means an intersection of different dimensions of oppression. So if you have exclusively racism, ipso facto, you do not have intersectionality.
Hold on one second.
That's just
Yeah,
true.
that particular point may be race exclusive, maybe race exclusive, but at the same time, it's not an argument I made.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
I was just drawing an
Like
analogy.
classless.
No, but
like
just,
classless, like classless.
if the so like that's the idea then. So like, does this is going to come down to definitions, and I don't want to regress the conversation because you guys probably already handled the definitions part of this conversation. If the issue arises and it becomes relevant to the current wave of feminism, does it not then make that wave of feminism relevant to the current conversation?
Well, yeah, only in the sense that those are the only in the sense that those are the feminists that are around. Like, you can't talk to a second wave feminist that isn't here anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's
No, that's what I'm
feminist
saying, exactly.
beyond. Okay, but point is that the expansion, there's a progressive expansion of the doctrine in each of the waves, right? And I think in the third wave, it actually becomes kind of incoherent. There's two defining traits, intersectional theory and literally redefining what it means to be a woman. That's the other defining characteristic, right? And sorry, there's going to be...
I don't agree with that.
Pardon?
I don't agree with that. Because the idea...
a famous feminist.
Fine, I'll disagree with all those famous feminists. The idea of that when we're saying feminism, it means that any of these, whether they're intersectional or not, requires the core tenet of this being relevant to women.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So just because the conversation arises in a separate wave of feminism doesn't necessarily mean that it still would include the conversation of, let's say, abortion to the new wave of feminism. So,
well, obviously, but that doesn't say anything about the legitimacy of the doctrines espoused by third and fourth wave feminists, though. It doesn't speak to that. Saying feminism would again become relevant doesn't tell us whether or not third and fourth wave feminism are productive means of going about securing gender equality.
Mm-hmm. What was the original official debate line to this topic? I'm sorry.
So the official debate line was the contention whether or not third and fourth wave feminism was still relevant in developed countries, in westernized developed countries. N6 says we don't need third and fourth.
Okay.
N6 says we don't need third and fourth wave feminism. That we can replace this with egalitarianism.
Yes,
can me and Darius invent fifth wave feminism right now?
I mean, you can try.
You can't argue that debate, right? Because like third and fourth have been established as what they are, and you're right. Intersectionality is a key element to them, and then like the internet wave of fourth wave, the internet element of online and fourth wave has been established. But if the conversation then becomes relevant again with elements of the second wave, which we're going to admit no longer exists because of this time framing, we would re-enter like a new defined wave of feminism where like let's use the abortion, obviously it becomes relevant to the conversation, and we don't need to talk about...
It's perfectly plausible. I think it's perfectly plausible that issue would just be assimilated into the current set of issues being dealt with by the current wave. My point is just that it being like the fact that feminism, the current feminists, would then have to deal with an issue that I consider relevant doesn't speak to whether or not their framework is good at promoting gender equality, which is what the contention is about. I think that, in fact, a framework that would be better is egalitarianism.
Yes, but egalitarianism doesn't speak to people who don't have to deal with the abortion. And then actually, I'm not going to even say the abortion issue necessarily. Well, no, I'm going to say the abortion issue. But egalitarianism doesn't speak to people without uteruses. in the specific conversation regarding abortion.
It
I don't give a
speaks to
fuck if
everybody.
you're trans, whatever, or what you identify as. Is like, this is a specific humans with uteruses issue.
I understand
Question.
that.
I have a question. I have a question, classless. No, hold on a second. I have a question, classless. Let me swallow this real quick. Classless. So
Go
did
ahead.
you know that 50% of white medical students have no instinct, don't interrupt me. 50% of white medical students thought blacks and whites felt pain at different levels. This a lot of is it cut me off. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. Do you think that is a part of
You're both cutting out. You get one at a time.
Do you think that is a part of intersectional feminism? Do you think that constitutes an intersectional intersectionality?
Repeat the statistic for us.
50% of white medical students thought that blacks and whites felt pain at different levels. Do you think that constitutes intersectionality in feminism? Yeah.
Well, it's obviously going to constitute intersectionality because you just threw gender and race into the same analysis.
Thank you.
I didn't hear gender. Sorry, where was gender?
What?
So what he's saying
think. Pay attention. Pay attention.
White medical students think black and white people experience pain differently. This is a definitional matter, okay? That is a question of racism and race alone. White medical students and black people does not consider gender.
Well, you're right. I think I misheard the statistic then.
So yeah, that's not.
But again,
it's true. It's true. How is that statistic relevant to feminism, Darius?
Because feminism constitutes intersection.
Yeah, so this is the problem.
Yes, I know.
No, it doesn't.
Intersectionality can't just include race, because then you're just talking like CRT without including the gender aspect.
Yeah, which is what I was saying to begin with, that if you don't have an intersection of factors of oppression, you do not have intersectionality.
That black women, look at that. That as a monolithic whole face, in terms of visits to OBGYNs, have lower health outcomes, and this could potentially be one of the reasons that black women who are in pain.
But hold on, is the statistic black women or black people?
Black people.
The statistic is black people. I'm showing the intersection between
Well, yeah, you got to have a statistic there that involves gender, though. Like that's
I can easily find one. I mean, you know that there are like 10,000 statistics.
No, the question, to be clear, though, the question you were asking classless was, does this count as intersectionality? And it seems like he's saying no.
It doesn't if the statistic only implies race and not gender. If there's
Yeah, that is exactly what I said.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right.
Hold on. I'm not done. I'm looking this up now.
Okay, but Jesus even Christ. If you find a different statistic, that won't make you correct about this one. Do you understand that?
And it would become relevant if you could pull up a statistic regarding like survival rates of during childbirth, of the difference of survival rates of childbirth between white women and black women, which I'm pretty sure we don't even have to look up to know that it's lower amongst black women. Then you would have a relevant statistic. Now, are those rates or are those impacted by the statistic that you mentioned earlier about doctors not paying attention, about not misunderstanding of the way they interpret pain? Then yes, you're going to have a specific intersectional. You're going to have an intersectional element of it too, but I'm having a hard time tying it into this broader conversation. So if you throw me a bone.
No, you're right. I had the same difficulty. I pointed out that even if you cite an example that legitimizes intersectionality, that doesn't do very much to fortify feminism, because any framework can use an intersectional analysis.
And intersectionality can use almost any framework.
All right. So NSYNC, make me gold.
Okay, let me be happy. I'm gonna make a coffee.
Yeah. I mean, so I think I did much better in this debate. 5 times more likely
Who's
to face
Abs?
domestic violence than debate
Yo.
Abs. Hey, Abs, how you doing? Hey, Julius, how you doing? Julius, you missed the debate. I did much better. So yeah,
You did better than the last one, but
I never said I did great. I said I did better.
yeah, I agree.
Then
From what
what?
I've heard, and I wasn't here the whole time, so I didn't hear the.
All right, so I started out much better, but NSYNC kept being NSYNC. He kept cutting me off. He kept interrupting. He's so arrogant. But yeah,
I mean, you do the same thing though, so it's like.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't
You
cut people
kind of
off.
do.
No, I don't.
I mean,
Hold on, be a little
do.
humble, Darius. Eat your critique there. Eat your critique from someone who paid attention.
No, he didn't pay attention. He missed most of it. But no,
I
no,
didn't
I
hear-
don't. No, I don't, Stabby.
Listen
Oh
to that
my
ego.
gosh.
So much ego.
No, I'm not done
You,
talking yet. Go
you
ahead.
understand that, like, saying that he cut you off and interrupted isn't a substantial criticism of his argument?
No, it's not. It's not.
If-
It's about
if
no,
you
no.
did-
It's
if
more
you
so
did
about.
better, you should be able to explain in what areas he did wrong.
Yeah, you sound like
So-
Opie arguing with me.
No. So
What were the mistakes he made?
So in sync, and I don't want to sit here and criticize him while he's on mute, going to go get a coffee. But he
No, eat him up. It's on recording. He can get back to you.
No, I think he did. I think he did really well. But a lot of the points that I was trying to make about how black women are 2.5 times more likely to face domestic violence, and so the debate itself was about how third and fourth wave feminism were still necessary in developed and advanced countries. That was my contention, and Sync's contention was that we don't need feminism in third and fourth. I'm sorry, in advanced and modernized countries.
Well, no, it's not his contention. That's what he described as the premise of the debate. I feel like you. So it's maybe you went in on a premise that NSYNC had locked down from the beginning. Why are we getting meta on this conversation already? But like, if that should have been part of the original debate framework, then if you were gonna go off that issue, but he said it was specifically not relevant to whatever you want to call it, developed nations, northern nations, upper world nations.
Upper world nations. Well,
upper world competitive countries was what I should have said.
Well, we used to call it the global north and global south, but my education's a bit outdated after a lot of years. So
upper world nations sounds like some kind of dog whistle, to be honest.
Upper world nations.
You know me, I'm just a super white.
Is it in triple echoes classless?
I'm half Jewish. Don't ask me.
Oh yeah, but I did much substantially better in this debate than I did in the other debate. I still feel like I have a long ways to go, but I saw some improvement in myself.
That's good. Yeah, you should come in with way more prep.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's your angle for approaching debates in the future.
If we're gonna get meta on it, I like the initial debate premise is all that's gonna matter in that case. And like if you're debating with somebody like NSYNC, he's not dumb. He's not gonna walk into a debate where the premise is stacked against him, right?
Yeah,
so if you're gonna have this conversation and it's something as simple as these terms of intersectionality are not relevant to developed nations, well, that's almost an easy point to make. And then if you're arguing, well, hey, these can still be relevant circumstances to non-developed nations, well, that wasn't relevant to the initial debate premise. So you walked into a guillotine.
Yeah, this is why formal debates and these kind of like cringy debate premises suck, and you will never do well arguing. And prep,
No.
and as I pointed out before, prep will only ever help your argument. It won't ever actually help you engage with his point.
Right.
You gotta go in the bag and just call the person a fucking retard like I do.
Okay, no, like prep, like if you know that they're making a specific claim that you can find evidence for, prep can help for that. But like as I said, focus less on prep, right? Like in terms of importance, more on how do I like make arguments.
Right.
Like
Right. Okay, I got you.
because here we're not. This isn't like Oxford debating. This is like, you know,
it's a Discord.
Logic. It's logic. It's a logic competition.
Okay.
Think about it that way. It's a competition.
Right. So
logic, not a competition of who can appeal to the audience the most.
Consistency trumps all.
Right.
Actually,
No, and I again, you told me that yesterday, and I'm like, damn, well, the debate's gonna be tomorrow, so now that the prep doesn't matter. I mean, this is all for naught.
It matters, but it's like, this is why it's all about. Okay, well, this is one of the reasons why.
Just woke up.
Yeah, I kind of did. This is one of the reasons why there was this other server called Open Debates, right? It's garbage. And they had an ELO debating system where everyone would what would happen was someone would write a premise, and then people would go into the debate, and whoever wins, people would vote for, right? It ends up being dumb as fuck. And this would make people start writing the most absurd, encompassing premises that were just tautologically true, or just picking things that were just the most easiest debate topics, right? I think it's reasonable to be pro-choice in this if you want to reduce harm, blah blah. They'd write these paragraph level premises that are almost impossible to disagree with, right? This is one of the big problems with
I got you.
I don't know, these kind of you want to start off with either really simplistic premises, or I don't know. This is why trying to make a
open-ended
debate. Yeah.
You want to make sure your premises are either open-ended, or you want to enter the debate in exactly as Julius is describing. You want to enter in a fact where you have a point that you can pin down and then attack. If we're going to argue for the relevance of intersectional feminism overall, we can argue for the relevance of that in plenty of situations.
Of who they are and their identity.
Well, my question on that would be, what about just allowing hormone blockers at the age of 12 or 13, just because if the kid is showing signs of that, of gender dysphoria or just gender confusion, should they be allowed to just have blockers where it doesn't really affect their bodies?
I suppose that depends on whether or not the effects of those hormone blockers, if they change their mind on going through with it, is it reversible?
Hormone blockers are reversible.
Something like 70% more likely to receive an injury as a result, because cars are designed around standard male bodies.
Okay, and at what point was this acknowledged, and at which point has it been addressed?
It's acknowledged, but it's not. There's not actually anything being done about it.
All right, give me one source and I'll concede.
How about instead we move to asking you what method you think should be employed to deal with it?
Oh, I think that we should as essentially 50% of.
What's male privilege?
Oh, I'll tell you what that is. Go ahead. I don't want to mansplain this.
That's male privilege is this idea that men have certain advantages when it comes to work, social situations, stuff like that.
For sure. Yeah. Do you think that?
Women also
I have two questions for you. The first one is, do you think that that's